Hare Krishna. Subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon to never miss any updates.
Hare Krishna. Welcome folks to Transcendental Thursday. Situationship नहीं था, ये nanoship है. ये nanoship क्या है? I came to know about this nanoship recently when I met a teenager from an urban part of Ahmedabad, and he said to me, I am done with this nanoship. I want a secure permanent relationship. ये nanoship क्या होता है? How does it affect people who are in that ship, and more about other ships which the current generations go through, and what is the spiritual perspective, a transcendental perspective from the Vedic scriptures. We'll talk about that in this particular presentation. Before that, Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschat Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktananda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. What are the characteristics of nanoship? And I just started discovering and finding out from the internet, and it gave few things which please forgive me to read it out for you. Nanoship can be all-consuming and intense, but it would last only for few seconds, few minutes, few hours, maximum maybe a day or a week. That's precisely what it is. Yeah, it may be in so-called hyper better version than the ONS, one night stands, or it is very ephemeral in nature, short-lived, and often fizzles out quickly, instantly, or sometimes even whether you know it happened or not, pata hi nahi chala. And it doesn't have a fear of commitment, because nobody want to be committed, nobody want to be seriously engaged, because they don't know whether what they are doing is correct or not, or this person is right or not, how much should I spend for her or him, should I be there or not there. There's a lot of faithlessness, and these youngsters go through a lot of different kicks of different releases of the hormones, dopamine, or oxytocin, or melatonin. Of course, these days melatonin is not at all there because they hardly sleep, and they go through an array of emotions, and whatever their emotion and experience ask them to do it, they do it, and they give such slangs to what they're experiencing through, and they're very vocal about what they're doing in social medias these days, because thanks to app-based dating apps, so it's all light swipe and left swipe. That's what they do, and they just want to explore things, and they want the best kind of existence in relational pleasure or physical intimacy, and they themselves confused whether they do in physical intimacy. It can be longer duration. I have to tolerate the tantrums. I have to be with them or not to be with them. Why should I be with that person for long? Oh, I was 9 years in relationship. Okay, that's all gone. Long distance, out of sight, out of mind. It's going to dogs or worse than that. That brings on to the context of spirituality. But people in general are also treading very carefully in the path of spirituality too. Anyways, this is a terminology which I didn't knew. Recently I came across. But when I discovered and did a bit research, this is something keeps, there's a new terminology, there's new trend every now and then in the world of TikToks and Instagrams. This is very common, ever emerging trends and fancies created by a few set of people, and youngsters just either they follow the trend, or they be the trend, or they create the trend, and it's ever changing. Basically, if I have to explain it in simple words, a brief and intense crush that evaporates or fades away quickly. Just like you scroll the shot, oh wow, another shot, oh wow. If the feeling or emotion for the previous reel or shot has gone, one more shot has come up, and you go nah, nah. It is just like that. Short-lived romantic connection with someone. Short-lived, extremely short-lived. That's why it's a ship which is done. It's a fleeting attraction or flirtation, not committed. This scenarios draws onto an example uh, which Prabhupada gave, because this is a series of exchanges with youngsters having with each other for sensual excitement, sensual pleasures, with all the shades of the fundamental thing which has been forgotten. The love of Krishna has been transformed into different shades of lust and grey. One such example which dawns down to my attention is pigeons. Of course, there are at least, I don't know, but they have it 100 times a day with each other. So it's short, insignificant, infinitesimal amount of time. So sense gratification is for pigeons. One of the conversation or chapter in one of the Prabhupada's books stated, why are we hankering for this ephemeral, short-lived pleasures? Because as Jiva, we always want pleasure and happiness. But whether it is nanoship or situationship or some other trends which the whole world is looking for, is nothing but the false notion which they have that I am the body, and the satisfaction of the body and the senses, who am I, is the which who I am is the foremost purpose and goal of life. Because I think I am this, and my senses has certain sense objects. If I get that, maybe intense, maybe short-lived, but I am pleasure seeking, pleasure beggar, just want to have it at all times, in all circumstances. And for this I am trying ways and means. It may be with the opposite gender, same gender, animals, living entities, birds, plants. Because Krishna, Bulya, forgetting Krishna and the love of Krishna, the jiva has come to, the living entities have come to this condition. It's extremely painful situation. And they don't realize this. Those who are connected with Krishna consciousness or have some iota of understanding of what the basic philosophy of Krishna consciousness, we should understand that this is how it is. Now, from jumping on to the Krishna conscious perspective, the first perspective which Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita is from the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, contents of Gita summarized in the 14th verse. Krishna clearly tells, after telling that you are not the body or spirit soul, because we have this understanding that I am the body, the senses are a part of my identity. If I take care of the needs of the senses, and the pleasure which they give to me is what the pleasure I want or I need, and that is the goal and purpose of my life. But Krishna in the beginning of the chapter itself tells, Apan sharir nahi hai, apan atma hai, and you have a different class of enjoyment and happiness. And the trait of the atma is Satchit Ananda. And you need to hanker for Satchit Ananda, happiness and pleasure. So after that, Krishna tells, Matra sparshastu kaunteya, shitoshna shuka dukkada, agama paina anityascha tam titikshasya bharata. Non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress. So this seems to be happiness, but it comes with distress all too. I'll talk about that later. And disappearance in due course are like the appearance and disappearance of seasons, winter and summer. Now it's winter in our part of our country, and in Australia it's summer, and they arise from sense perception. Oh, sign of Bharata, what you should do? You must learn to tolerate. खुजली होती है, खुजाओगे अच्छा लगेगा, आहा, उसके बाद खून निकलेगा, एक्जिमा होगा, सोरायसिस होगा, पस निकलेगा, पेनफुल होगा, सूखेगा नहीं घाव. It is exactly like this. That's what Krishna in elsewhere in the Bhagavad Gita says. Yu hi samsparshaja boga dukkha yona evate. That ananda, that maza, that kushi that you get when the sense come in touch with sense object has a beginning and an end in elsewhere cells, it is said. But here in this verse, he says that the source of all miseries. Dukkha yona evate. Initially, elsewhere Krishna says that it's nectar and later it becomes poisonous. Chahiye mere ko maza chahiye, nectar chahiye. But it's nectar in the beginning, later it becomes poison. And Krishna is telling this. It's dukkha yona, source of miseries. And because of our hormonal hits, identification with the body, instant pleasure seekers, we fall for it, just like animals fall for prey. Just like the fish is caught because of the flesh as a bait, it loses its life. Fish is caught like that. It's expert at gratifying its sense of tongue, taste buds. Just like an elephant is caught because of the sexual pleasure, it is caught by a female elephant which is trained to entice the male elephant, and the male elephant chases the female elephant and falls in the ditch to be a servant, a slave for life, working hard, lifting tons of logs. Or a moth, gratifying its sense of sight, rushes towards the fire and sacrifices its life, thinking that this warmth of the fire, the glow of the fire, the light illumination is what I want, and rushes itself to death or burns itself to death. Or the bee which gets intoxicated with the fragrance of the lotus flower, gets into trying to satisfy the nostrils and suffocates to death when the sun sets, when the lotus completely covers itself with its petals. Like all this living entity, or the deer which is expert in gratifying its sense of hearing, is captured, enamored by the music of the flute and gets stunned, and the arrow is shot by the hunter. So all these living entities loses their life because of one sense being very powerful. On the contrary, we grown up human being adults, where all our senses are firing full throttle at that age. Now imagine what our condition is. Seems to be like pleasure, nectar, you reach the summit of happiness, but it comes at a cost. It can going to be transforming into greatest pain. It's going to be poisonous. So hence, as mentioned in the verse 2.14, Krishna is telling, summer will be there, you have to tolerate. Winter will be there, you have to tolerate. It will be rainy season, you have to tolerate. It will be exams, you have to tolerate. Urges will be there. Pangs of all these bodily necessities will be there. Tolerate, Saishnuta. But here we live in a world of high Saishnuta. That's why we have to be very careful with this urges, and those who are practicing Krishna consciousness, we should have a very clear purpose and goal in life. And heat, because we need to be detached. Again, the few wonderful verses from the Bhagavad Gita. Again, in the second chapter, 47th verse, the famous verse, Karmanya vadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. You have a right to perform your prescribed duty. You are not entitled for the fruits of action. Never consider yourself to be the cause of the result, and never be attached, not doing your duty. So in this way, we need to tread our path in our lives, and so that you don't get attached to anything or any person other than Krishna. As a matter of duty, for the duty, we need to have an interaction and exchanges. Otherwise, you're lost. Just like elsewhere in Srimad Bhagavatam, it is mentioned the power of woman's eyebrow. Mere movement of her eyebrows, she controls the mighty emperors. So as long as we are controlled by the opposite gender, we'll not achieve the purpose and goal of life, because self-realization is above the sense pleasures. We cannot deny the sense pleasures. That is the beauty of Krishna consciousness. Everything has a place in Krishna consciousness, because it's the energy of the Lord. It is created by the Lord, but there is a sanctified special purpose for those pleasures. Just like sexual pleasures, it has a place. That has to be done through purificatory process called samskaras. Just like marriage, where this is involved. Samskara, when you get married, it is meant for satisfaction of Vishnu. You commit yourself to a person, and keeping Krishna or Vishnu in the center, you live your life and beget children who are ready to come to this world to perfect their human form of life. And you help them to get that Krishna conscious life to that child. That's why scriptures are very particular. One should not become a mother, father, teacher, guardian unless and until he liberates his dependence from the clutches of birth and death. इसलिए हमको शादी नहीं करना है. Oh, that's wonderful. That's what's happening to all youngsters these days. But if we want to be bachelor daddies, oh, you don't have to be daddy, but we want to be daddy, but we don't want to be responsible for being a daddy. Or we'll not become daddy, we'll just enjoy so-called pleasures of the sense activities. It's all pure animalism. Animals at least take responsibility to a certain extent. We are worse than dogs then. Ahar nidra bhayamaituna samanyam etat pashubir narana. These are the four common phenomenon in human beings and animals. But dharma hi eko adhiko vishesho. Dharma is a special prerogative of human beings. Dharma hina pashubir narana. Without dharma, this is dharma which is Krishna speaking in Bhagavad Gita. Without this understanding, this principle, we are as good as animals or worse than animals. At least they don't have tendencies what we have. They are regulated by their design, their make and season. But here is a personality, human being, advanced species which you get after 80 plus lakh species. You misutilize it, and for which you have to suffer. Every pleasure comes at a cost. There's no pleasure without payment, and that payment is your spiritual. Anyways, it's going anyways. Even materially also, band bajne wala hai. Forget about spiritual goals or other things. Even materially also, you will be diverted by from your goals. Instead of having goal statement, you'll have a girl statement, or for someone who's from the opposite gender, a boy statement. Instead of goal statement, all these statements will be boggling you, and you want to study, you want to focus, you want to set things right, you want to go hit a gym, you want to exercise, you want to prepare well, you want to, so many things are like, but these are the distraction which impact your well-being. That's why Krishna is telling, first tolerate, and as a matter of duty, do it, and don't hanker for the results. And there is a purpose in relationship, and that purpose is, as mentioned, the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord. And if you keep Krishna in the center, and he's a reservoir of all pleasure, that pleasure what you get is insignificant, infinitesimal, puny. But what Krishna is offering is unlimited, uninterrupted, everlasting happiness. That's what even Rishabhadeva is telling. Don't hanker for pleasures and which are easily available for stool-eating kutta and sewer. Tapo divyam putrakayena shatva. You should do devotional service. And that devotional service to Krishna and Vishnu, what will give you? Brahma Saukyam Tvanantam. Unlimited pleasure. Brahma Saukyam Anantam. That's what you're hankering for. That's what you're wanting for. That's what you're expecting. It's all chutku here and there. Ye mil jaye. And you just go in circles, sacrificing or doing it for that, and you get cheated. Just like these 5 animals which I gave, loses their life, legal or illegal, in both way you lose your life. But even if you want to do it legally for the higher cause. And that for that higher cause, you should know the cause and purpose. That's why you should read Bhagavad Gita, which is a manual for mankind. Cats and dogs cannot do that. Their life is pre-programmed. This has to be read and understood and implemented. That's why this book has to be widely distributed and shared. That's why during this book marathon, I implore and request all those folk boys and devotees who are watching this, make your life perfect by adopting these principles of Bhagavad Gita, and also share this to the youngsters who are suffering from this. Younger generation has to be saved. It's a future for them. If you allow them to go to dogs, the society will be full of cats and dogs, and there can never be peace and prosperity in such society, and we will be responsible for that. It's our duty to save. And there's another verse in the second chapter, the same verse, 66th verse, if I remember. One sec, I'll just, got it. नास्ति बुद्धिर अयुक्तस्य न चायुक्तस्य भावना न चाभ्यावतः शांतिर अशांतस्य कुतः सुखम. I talked about peace. One who is not in transcendental consciousness can have neither a controlled mind nor steady intelligence, without which there is no possibility of peace. And how can there be any happiness without peace? See, all of us are going through all this, kicks of sense gratification, because at the end of the day we want happiness, we want to be satisfied. But how can this be possible? Krishna is telling, because this is how he is talking, without which where there be no possibility of peace. How can there be any happiness without peace? So that's why Krishna is telling, one who is connected to the supreme absolute truth can have peace. Others cannot have peace. Krishna is the supreme absolute truth. He is the Bhokta. He is a Sarvaloka Maheshwara. He is a Surdam. Then, if you understand this principle, tread our life based on these principles, then Shanti Rachati. 5.29 says, these are the principles which we need to work out. So, we should not, solution basically is, you should understand this principle by jo bhi karo, bodily pleasures has a limitation, and I am not the body, apun atma hai. And understand this principle. Dehinosminyata dehe kaumaram yavanam jara. You had this body, different types of body. You see, they had a small body, bigger body, but you remain the same. This body will change, but you remain. And those who are not bewildered by such a change, or not allured by the so-called hormonal changes which the body goes through, and seek the happiness of the owner of the body, Dehi, not the Deha. And that happiness is in connection with the Supreme Lord. When through yoga, when we connect ourselves with the Supreme Lord, then we draw unlimited pleasure and happiness, which you're actually hankering for that. So bereft of separation from the Lord, we are going through a lot of pain. It's just like the richest father is separated, the son is begging in the streets, suffering without knowing who his father is. But when he comes to know who his father is, it gets back to him, all the problems are solved. Similarly, we are the lost sons of the most richest, beautiful, handsome, famous, strongest, renunciant father, Bhagavan Sri Krishna, Sadaishwarya Purna. So once we know that, by chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, all our problems will be solved. And even if you want to have such kind of sensual pleasure, do it legally under the sacred institution of marriage. And keeping Krishna in the center, and as a grihastha, not as a grihamedi, or not as an animal, or not as a bachelor daddy, or a bachelorette mother, mummy. Do it legally, and that regulation has to be there. This regulation is possible only in human beings. Cats and dogs don't have regulations. Of course, they are regulated by the will of the nature and plan of the nature, but we have to be regulated, and gradually keeping Krishna in the center. If we do this, then in either case we'll be benefited. So we should be careful about this, and tread the path according to the guidance given by the scriptures. Just like Lord Ramachandra had an ideal household life. So keeping he as our model, ideal model, or ideal grahastha, we should tread our path in grahastha life, keeping Krishna in the center. Another thing would be we should educate ourselves with real education. Somewhere in the 6th chapter, I think it is 21st verse. Yes, what does it say? Yeah, it says, Sukam atyantik kam tadyat buddhi grahayam atindriyam veti vatra na chaivam stitas chalati tatvataha. Of course, it's a very long verse in here. It is accumulated into three. I'll read all three, 20, 21 and 23, specifically 21. But it's coinciding and with 21 and 22 and 23 also. Yes, 20, 21, 23, 4 verses. Yes. That stage of perfection is called trance, when one's mind is completely restrained from material and mental activities. Trance, we want that high, we want that kick, we want that perfection. And Krishna is telling, possible when the mind is completely restrained from the mental and mental activities. How? By the practice of yoga. And what is that practice of yoga mentioned for this age of Kali? Kali Kale Nama Rupa Krishna Matara Hare Nama Eva Kevalam Kalo Nasteva Nasteva Katirata. In this age of Kali, the only way to realize God or to be in union with God, to connect with God, is to chant the names of God. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. For both material and spiritual emancipation, one should chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra like this. And further, Krishna says, this is characterized by one's ability to see the self by the pure mind. For that, we have to purify our mind. How do you purify? By avoiding certain things which needs, it's an impediment in advancement in Krishna consciousness. No intoxication, no illicit sex, no gambling, no meditating. Then, to relish and rejoice in the self, Atma. In that joyous state, one is situated in boundless transcendental happiness. Brahma Saukyam Tvanantam, which I shared. Enjoy himself through transcendental senses. Senses are there. You cannot make it inactive. Senses of the Atma is active. You have to activate the senses of the soul by practicing Krishna consciousness. Established thus, one never departs from the truth. And upon gaining this, he thinks there is no greater gain. There's no greater gain than this. Being situated in such position, one is never shaken. Solid, rock solid, unshakable faith. Even in the amidst the greatest difficulty, this indeed actual freedom from all miseries arising from material contact. Although we are talking that we are spirit soul, but because we are in these bodies, and all the difficulties arises because of the interaction with the senses and the sense object, or in other words, material contact will be mitigated, will be freed. Just by reading Bhagavad Gita, one will be freed from all material miseries, implementing those principles in our life. And this is what I had to share. If you have any questions or comments, I'll be happy to help you out. Yes, as I said, I'll be happy to help you out. The mentor or the devotee association plays a vital role for this. Otherwise, it's not possible. Talk to your respective folk guides and you express your dilemmas and challenges. Devotees will definitely help you out to tread this path of Krishna consciousness, wherein you can overcome all those lower pleasures and enjoy the highest bliss of Krishna consciousness. And this is what makes a living entity truly happy and blissful. And this we have to practice ourselves, apani achare, then we have to share it with others. Prabhu Jivera Shikai. And anyone who does this, Krishna says in the Gita, is very, very dear to me. Nacha Priya Kirtama. There's no one more dear than him who spreads this message of Krishna to the whole world, because this is the love of Krishna which Krishna is expressing. This is the love letter of Krishna, and if we deliver this love letter to all his forgotten sons, and he will be pleased. Not only that, sons will be very happy to get his father back, and all their problems will be solved, and they'll not keep going for ephemeral, insignificant, transitory pleasures. They'll go for high-end, super duper, unlimited, everlasting, continuous happiness and pleasure in Sachidananda format in Krishna consciousness. Okay? Thank you so much for patiently hearing me. Nanoship or situationship or relationship. Get out of all those ships and get into the transcendental ship of Srila Prabhupada and transcend the path of this Bhava Samudra and reach the lotus feet of Sri Krishna by practicing the principles given by Srila Prabhupada of chanting 16 rounds of Hare Krishna, avoiding the four sins, and blissfully enjoying Krishna consciousness by prasadam, by kirtan, by associating with devotees, mangalarti, book distribution and dham yatras and kirtans and whatnots and transcendental service. All it for you folks. Engage yourself in all this and enjoy life in true sense, unlike others. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.